And for final video number 3 of the day, a couple of things. Again, from Zero Hedge. I talked a little bit about this the other day. Greek bank runs re-escalate massive deposit withdrawals despite capital controls. Again, I told you, and it's still here. 1,800 euros per month. They're taking out the Greeks. Capital controls in place, doesn't matter. Maximum they can take out $1,800 a month, and they're doing it. I had someone email me from that's over there in Greece. Again, I'm Greek, not necessarily from there. My parents, my mom and dad are Greek, especially my dad's side. Mom's mostly Italian, but you feel a little kinship of some kind of someone, your own background. Like I got a Greek and Italian in me, but I got the Greeks over there. I'm watching the freaking country being destroyed. Reading an article the other day. They're trying to, they're saying now with the fourth bailout, they need to privatize something else. They're just, they wanted the gold. Greece has a little bit of gold apparently. Let's take the gold. Like, man, these guys are brutal, and the people over there just stand there and take it. I don't get it. But he's like, hey, I'm over here. I watch your videos, and I heard we talking about Greece the other day, this and that, and what do you have any suggestions for someone like me to maybe make some side income? I heard you talking about making side income and trying to find things and to make some extra money. I thought to myself, I'm glad you asked, out of all people, because if just some average American asked me what could I do, I'd say, well, you could start a YouTube channel, but you could also find some niche in your area, in your neighborhood, or where you live, something that's missing. There's a lot of different things, but an easy one, but it could take a lot of time to build subscribers, is to do YouTube. But again, you got to have content that's bringing people back. You want to see your subscriber base growing, not declining. If they're declining, you're in trouble. And again, it takes a lot of time. But anyways, for him, I was like, well, man, I said, look, you're in like the war zone, so to speak. I didn't say that, but I'm like, hey, you're in Greece, and you know what's happening. You hear my videos, and you're like, yeah, you're saying the right stuff. Excuse me. And I said, look, if I were you, what I would do, you're on YouTube, clearly you're watching me and stuff. You got access to the internet. I said, why don't you, if I were you, I'd start a YouTube channel in English and video blog about what's happening there. And don't just talk about, well, this is what I've read in our local news or that kind of thing. Do that. But I said to take it a step further, and this would really help anybody doing videos, including myself, which I don't do this, but I just don't have for me, I don't need to do this, I guess what I'm saying. But for him, this would be good. And that is, I said, go out, get out there on the streets, talk to business owners, put them on camera. Hey, how does whatever happened affecting you? What do you think about, talking about fourth bailout? What do you think about this? How did the last 3 years affect you, and let the guy talk. Even if it's in Greek, when you edit the video, you can put the subtitles yourself, or you can lower the volume, with editing software, and voice yourself in English with his reply, or as you lower the whole video, audio on the video, you could simply explain like a narrator what's happening, even though it's you in there, talking to a guy or a lady. I said, you should do that. Talk to people, the people on the streets. Talk to people. How are you being affected? What's happening? What happened in your life? How did this affect you? Go to the businesses. Hey, I'd like to talk to you. I've got a YouTube channel. I'm trying to wake the world up to what's happening in Greece. Please tell us. I said your channel could possibly do quite well because it's like you're in a war zone, so to speak. Not bullets flying, but an economic war zone. Just as scary when you don't have money and income coming in that you need to survive, right? So that was my advice to him. Do that, do that. And he's like, oh yeah, it's a good idea. Thanks, So I hope he does. And I hope his channel starts growing for the people of Greece and the Eurozone, etc., to see, hey, this is Greece, close neighbor kind of thing, Cyprus, and just simply cover that. You could do well covering that kind of stuff. I can't do that. I'm over here in America, and there ain't nothing wrong here. Everything's awesome out here. I can't go outside and talk to people. They don't even know what I'm talking about. What do you think about the jobless number? What jobless number? What are you talking about? Do you have an EBT card? Well, yes, I do. But you still don't care about the jobless numbers because you're getting your EBT. Yep. Okay, just checking. So, yeah, we still got the problem in Greece. 2.5 billion euros left Greek banks in the last 45 days, despite the capital controls. We talked about that the other day. And the unthinkable just happened in Spain, he says. This was also about, or not about, but from wolfstreet.com. I mentioned that guy. It's usually Wolf Richter or whatever, but this is Don Quijones, I think. He says, untouchable, inviolable, immunity, impunity. These are the sort of words and expressions that are often associated with senior central bankers who are, by law, able to operate with more or less being above the law of the jurisdictions in which they operate. Rarely heard in association with senior central bankers are words like, or expressions like, accused, charged, or under investigation. But in Spain, of all places, my friends, another Eurozone country, in Spain this week, or, yeah, I guess it would be technically last week, a court broke with that tradition in emphatic style. As part of the epic multi-year criminal investigation into the doomed IPO of Spain's Frankenbank, Bankia, which had been assembled from the festering corpses of 7 already defunct saving banks, Spain's National Court called to testify 6 current and former directors of the Bank of Spain, including its former governor, Miguel Angel Fernandez Ordonez, and its former deputy governor and current head of the BIS, Financial Stability Institute. So the Bank for National Settlements Financial Stability Institute. It also summoned for questioning, Julio Segura, the former president of Spain's financial markets regulator, the CNMV, which is the Spanish equivalent of the Security and Exchange Commission in the U.S. So what you're about to hear in this article is the proof, I should say, of the allegations we, guys like me, make against our own corrupt financial institutions, our Federal Reserve Bank, our too-big-to-fail banks, and the supporting Security and Exchange Commission, the CFTC, the crooks that run these places. They're all in cahoots together. As you're going to find out, the same thing just happened in Spain. It's been happening, and the taxpayer footed the bill on what I'm about to read you. And the thing is, this isn't incompetence. We shouldn't have done it. We saw numbers. We thought we can make it. This was strictly, this is for the club. We're going to do what's right for the club. We know it's wrong. We know this won't work. We know it's going to fail. We're going to do it anyway, and we're going to make tons of money for all of us. With our multi-million-dollar golden parachutes when we quit and take shares and preferred shares and stocks, and we sell them all. We make filthy rich money. And then we're being called back into court because they want to question us about our decisions. It'd be one thing if you questioned, Bankia about it, Frankenbank, Bankia. But they're bringing in the equivalent of the Federal Reserve, except for Spain, the Security and Exchange Commission regulator for Spain, not to just ask simple questions. These guys were complicit in this scandal. And who bailed out? Who got the short end of the stick? Take a guess. It starts with the T. Taxpayer. The 6 central bankers and 1 financial regulator stand accused of authorizing the public launch of Bankia in 2011, despite repeated warnings from the Bank of Spain's own team of inspectors that the banking group was unviable. Though they have so far only been called to testify, the evidence against the 7 former public servants looks pretty conclusive. Testifying against them are 2 of Banco de España's own inspectors who have spent the last 2 years investigating Bankia's collapse on behalf of the trial's presiding judge, Fernando Andreu. There are also 4 emails from the Bank of Spain's inspector in charge of overseeing Bankia's IPO, Jose Antonio Casos, to the Assistant Director General of Supervision at the Bank of Spain, Mr. Pedro Comín, that very clearly expressed concerns about the bank's serious and growing profitability, liquidity, and solvency issues. I love hearing this, but I don't, because this is sad for the taxpayers, and I'm a taxpayer too, so this hurts me when it happens in my country, and it did happen in my country because we had 2008, etc. And by the way, it's going to happen again. But it lets me know that when I make these wild accusations that they're all in this together, the Security and Exchange Commission's in it, the CFTC's in it, the banks are in it, the Federal Reserve's in it, the Treasury head, the secretary's in it, not right now, not Trump's, but previous, that this is not conspiracy, this is fact. And where do these guys go to move on to work at? One of them went to the Bank for International Settlements. The central bank of the world's central bank, you could say, right? You got a prestigious job working over there. Isn't that amazing? Go in here, drop a nuclear bomb, walk away. We'd like to hire you, sir. But I just destroyed a freaking city the size of Manhattan. Great job. Come over here. We're going to hire you. Well, I'm sorry, what? Here are 4 brief excerpts. April 8th, 2011. Bankia is unviable, both economically and financially. In the end, the FROB, Spain's state-owned fund for orderly bank restructuring, will have to convert its debt into shares for the BFA, Spain's state-owned banking group, and refund holders. Hold on. And refund holders of Bankia's subordinate bonds and preferentes shares. Find a buyer for the group. Just a few days later, April 14th, 2011, this is not working. It's getting worse. Bankia's capacity to generate resources is deteriorating. About a month later, May 10th, 2011, uppercase used by Mr. Casas for emphasis. The endogenous solution put forward by Bankia, a public listing with a double banking structure without the necessary structural changes, capital letters, will not work and will have a devastating impact on taxpayers, end quote. A few days later, 2011, May 16th, 2 months before the IPO, by the way, quote, the bank's board is highly politicized and unprofessional. It still has the same directors that led the former entities to need public assistance. They are discredited in the eyes of the markets, end quote. As the court's edict reads, the contents of the emails unequivocally demonstrate that the Bank of Spain's management was perfectly aware of the inviability of the group, as well as the fabricated financial results it had presented. Yet, together with the CNMV, it lent its blessing to those results, knowing full well they bore no relation to reality. Featured in the IPO prospectus, those results were crucial in luring 360,000 credulous investors into buying shares in the soon-to-be bankrupt bank, not to mention the 238,000 people who bought the preferentes shares or other forms of high-risk subordinate debt instruments being peddled by Bankia's sales teams as perfectly safe investments. Where have we heard that before, my friends? Most have since been refunded, but by Spanish taxpayer, the Spanish taxpayers. So they lost. Banks should have never sold them those bonds. The money's gone. The heads of the banks, all the club members made tons of money, of course. Taxpayer, we need you to help bail us out. This was not 2008. These conversations were happening in 2011. So this is 2011, 2012. The IPO prospectus was also signed off on by Bankia's auditor, Deloitte, whose Spanish representatives are also warming the defendant's bench. So this is another company. Can you see how many people are involved? So when you hear the ratings agency, oh, JP Morgan, Chase, AAA credit score. Bank of America, AAA credit score for credit rating. That's the equivalent. We need an auditor. We need someone to come in here and give us the AAA. Well, we can't hire a third party that we don't know. We got to hire a third party that we do know who will play ball. That's what they did. It was signed off by Deloitte. And they were not just the bank's auditor. It was also the consultant responsible for formulating its accounts. As El Mundo put it, first Deloitte built Bankia's balances, then it audited them, in complete contravention of the basic concept of auditor independence. Given this deeply compromising, not to say illegal setup, it's hardly any surprise that Deloitte was happy to confirm in Bankia's IPO prospectus that the newly born Frankenbank was in sound financial health in having made a handsome profit of 300 million euros for their crimes, or their nod of approval, auditing, just before its public launch. It was a blatant lie. In reality, Bankia was bleeding losses from every orifice. Now just about everybody who played a role in this momentous deception, with the exception of the government itself, is standing trial. That includes 65 former members of Bankia's management team, including its former president and ex-chief of the IMF, Rodrigo Reto, who faces charges of money laundering, tax fraud, and embezzlement. Remember the other guy? He works for the Bank for International Settlements. This one? Former president and an ex-chief of the IMF. This is a worldwide criminal organization of central bankers who are setting policy for all of us, essentially. And the policy is, heads our banks win, tails you lose. Taxpayer bailout to the rescue. And we don't want to be arrested. We don't want to be arrested. We're not going to be arrested. Just bail them out to the taxpayer. They're going to be the most upset people, the ones we took from. Pay them back. Do it through a taxpayer bailout. In his testimony to the court almost exactly 2 years ago, Mr. Reto, was that him? Yeah, Mr. Rodrigo Reto, that's the ex-IMF dude, argued, quite rightly, that the blame for Bankia's collapse should be much more evenly spread out. Bankia's public launch was not a whimsical decision taken by its chief executives, he said, but was the inevitable result of regulatory changes at the beginning of 2011. According to him, the CNMV even played an active role in drawing up the bank's lie-infested IPO brochure. So the regulator had a hand with the lie-infested IPO brochure. Now, 2 years later, some of Spain's most senior central bankers and financial regulators find themselves in the rare position of having to explain and defend the actions and decisions they took that helped pave the way to the biggest bank bailout in Spanish history. It will be one of the first times that senior members of the global central banking complex have had to face trial for the consequences of their actions. However, final paragraph, however, that's not to say that justice will prevail. Spain's legal system is notoriously slow, especially when it's convenient and heavily politicized. There's also the possibility that the ECB, European Central Bank, may intervene, as it did in Slovenia's investigation of its central bank's alleged misuse of bailout funds. The last Spanish judge that dared to take on the financial elite, Mr. Elpidio Silva,
sent Caja Madrid's CEO, Miguel Blesa, to jail, not once, but twice. And he, the judge, was barred from the bench for 17 years. As such, the presiding judge of the current case, Mr. Fernando Andreu, would do well to tread carefully as he risks stepping on some very important toes. And he says, now a hot new bail-inable debt got cooked up by financial engineers in France, and it's a big hit. Read, biggest EU banks embark on the mother of all debt binges, which I read the other day. Again, guys, this is exactly what I talk about all the time. And this is a prime example of all the players in one place at one time cooking the books before the books are even created. And then saying, taxpayers, you're going to bail the people out that we effed over. We knew we shouldn't have started the bank. The data was 100% clear we shouldn't have started this bank. It was insolvent. Nothing good about it. But we faked it. We even brought a third-party auditor / consultant in who also helped us forge this stuff, helped write the brochure for the IPO, and we made tons of money. Again, they have all the money. They paid themselves, I'm sure, millions of dollars. Of course, they have shares of their own company. The big guy, big shot, the VP, this guy, that guy, you all have preferente shares, and I'm sure they sold out, took their money, and ran. And everyone who got screwed, quite possibly including them, screwed out of their own shares, got a bailout from the taxpayers. Taxpayers had to bail out the losers, and if they happened to lose, they got bailed out too. But they didn't happen to lose. They paid themselves very well. So, this is why, under no circumstances, do you ever want a one world order, one world financial system, one world currency, even though an argument for a single currency is very valid, a good one. No currency wars, devaluation, you can't do that. But it's going to be run by these people. And as I said, you have a country, you have this thing called politicians and corruption. Don't care what country you're from. Doesn't matter. Gerald Celente, when he was pissed off, he got screwed at MF Global. I'm leaving the effing country. He said, I went to all kinds of different countries. I thought it would be good. And I found something that was repeatedly coming up each and every time. And that was these politicians in every country, they have the same corruption and fraud and things going on that we have in ours. It's the same everywhere. And I said, if I'm going to move out to somewhere, I don't want to have to move to deal with this again in another country. I might as well stay here in my own country. And damn it, I was born here. I live here. This is, the best country on the face of the earth. I'm staying. I'm going to fight the fight here and stay. And that's what he said. So he was right. This is Spain. This isn't the American Federal, Reserve or Canada or anything. This is Spain, man. They're part of the European Union, man. And these people will run that new world order. And when they run it, you won't even have the opportunity to pull any of them in for testimony. We're not charging you. We just need testimony for you wouldn't. Sorry, under EU law, such and such, high-level officials are immune from court deposition. They write the laws, unelected bureaucrats, and they're going to write the law that says we're going to keep creating banks that are failures, and we're going to keep bailing the people out who we screw over with the more taxpayer money. It's like giving a bank robber the law books to write the law. And he only knows, by the way, it's the only thing he ever learned, was how to rob banks. He doesn't know how to fix cars. He doesn't know anything about computers. He can't do data entry. He can't do typing. Can't work at McDonald's. He only knows how to rob banks. Sir, here's the book. Write the new law. And by the way, is that a stolen sack of... Yeah, it is. Behind me. But I'm writing the law. Put your handcuffs away. Put your handcuffs away. I'm writing the law. Anybody with my status shall not be put in jail, cannot be tried, cannot be yada, yada, yada. their official business. If they get into trouble with anything, it's considered their official position in government. Therefore, you can't try the person. You can only try the position that they, or the things they did while they were in that position, but you can't try them personally. Which means what? Nothing really. Can't do anything about it. In short speak, nothing. I get off scot-free. This is why we have to route out this crap. Weed it out. Route it out. Weed it out means expose it. Route it out means get rid of it. And that's what Trump's trying to do. And now we have Marine Le Pen in France. We have some other movements that are looking fantastic. She's supposed to meet with some guy from the Middle East, the Grand Poobah, somebody. I need her to wear, the scarf thing, the Habib, whatever that thing's called. Thanks, but no thanks. That's not my religion. I'm not doing that. Meeting's off. Have a nice day. Marine Le Pen, I love you. Good job. I'm sure Trump gave you a high five on that one too. Take care.